Hey friends, Pastor Evan here, and today we are continuing our walk through the Gospels as we look at the miracles of Christ. And today's miracle is out of Matthew chapter 14. It's a well-known miracle, it's the feeding of the 5,000. A little background to this miracle. At this point, Jesus has just found out and received word that his friend and relative, actually John the Baptist, has been killed by Herod. And it says in verse 13, when Jesus heard what had happened, he withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. Jesus is human, and I love the humanity that's revealed in this moment where Jesus has lost somebody that he loved, his friend John. And so he does what any of us would do in a moment of grief and loss. He gets some time alone. He goes to this solitary place. Hearing of this, it says the crowds followed him on foot from the towns. And when Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them and healed their sick. So we have this image of Jesus going by boat, gets to the other side of the lake to get out of the crowds and find some space to grieve the loss of his friend. And meanwhile, those same crowds that he's trying to avoid have rushed on foot around the lake shore, and they're meeting him there. Now, if it's me, I would get back on the boat and go back over and, find some space. But Jesus allows his compassion for the crowds to win out over his need for personal space. And so it says he had compassion on them, he heals their sick. And then as evening approached, the disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place and it's already getting late. So send the crowds away so they can go to the villages and buy themselves some food. Jesus replied, they do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. There's only one reason why the crowds were in such a remote place, a place where they didn't have access to food. It's because they went there in search of Jesus. There's a couple cliched phrases that maybe you've heard in a sermon before. One is where God guides, he provides, and where he leads, he feeds. This idea that if we are walking in pursuit of Jesus, when we get to those desolate places in life, we have a confidence that because he's led us there, that he's going to provide for our needs. Maybe not for all of our comforts, maybe not for all of our wishes, but there is provision in the place where Jesus has led us to. The disciples respond to him, and they say, we have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And Jesus says, bring them here to me. And he directed the people to sit down on the grass, taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. Looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the people. Then they all ate and were satisfied, and the disciples picked up 12 baskets of broken pieces that were left over. So such a stunning miracle, and really an illustration about how Jesus himself is the bread of life. He is the one who sustains us. He's the one who provides for us. And really, he is meeting the needs of the people in a moment where really he would rather be doing something else. He would rather be in the solitary place that he came to find when he crossed over that lake. But Jesus is so motivated by his compassion for the people that he allows himself to be interrupted in order to meet needs. And that's the second point of application. First is that if he leads us to a place, he's going to provide for us. And the second is allow yourself to be interrupted. When it comes down to what I want versus what somebody who's in front of me needs, my prayer for myself is that God would work in my heart to put the brakes on whatever I'm going after and say, right now, I'm going to act in compassion and mercy to the one in front of me. Hope you're encouraged today. This weekend, I'm looking forward to preaching a message about how Jesus meets us in the storms, and that's where the miracle is actually found. Hope you can join us at Westside Live on Sunday, and we'll see you soon.